Hi everyone, I'm Andrea,
I'm Alexa.
and welcome to As You Are.
Today we have our first guest, Rania.
I'm so excited.
No, we are so excited to have you here. You might have seen her on season 1, the vlog that we did at the Biohack Lab,
Yes.
where you walked us through the treatments and you were super knowledgeable, the sweetest human in the whole world.
Sweetest.
Sweetest.
Seriously.
I love you guys. You guys are so cute. I'm so honored and grateful to be here with both of you, especially to be the first guest to be even considered to sit here.
Girl,
is an
it's
honor.
like we were saying before filming, thank God you're our first
Yeah.
guest. It makes it
so much
like,
easier.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
much
and
easier.
I
And
feel like we just all are on the same vibe.
Mhm.
So just everything was flowing. Like we could hang out for hours. So
Yes,
Literally.
yes.
I'm gonna make
And
this
Rania
easy.
came with amazing gifts for us. Amazing
Yeah.
I couldn't
gifts.
come empty-handed. I couldn't do it. So
A
I'm
No.
whole package. One of which being a gift from the Biohack Lab, which we're super
Yes.
excited about. And over time, we'll share with you guys our experiences with it. So, Andrea, you gonna go?
So we got a light mask therapy. So it comes with red light, blue light, and yellow light. And it also comes with the neck and chest part of it. So you can wear the mask and also the neck and the chest. And we were thinking that we can also use it in other places like the back and the arms. you try it whenever you wanted to try. So we're excited to try it ourselves.
Yeah, we'll both try. We'll both do a pass at it.
I'm
and
excited
we'll let
for you
know what
guys
we
to
think.
experience it because it's just life-changing. The way
Yeah.
your skin feels, the way it looks, and just brings a whole other level of confidence to
Yeah,
you.
no, totally. I have one that it's just like the face, and whenever I do it like regularly, I can see the difference. Like,
It's incredible. Like you don't feel it right away,
No.
which everybody wants to feel everything right away all the time.
All the
Instant
time.
But
results. Yeah.
it just comes. And then you're like, oh my God, okay, that's what it was. That's what did this to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Amazing.
yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm
you so
happy.
much.
Of
Thank you so
course.
much.
Among many gifts.
Just one.
So I know Rania from, you're Haitian.
Yes.
So I've known of you, but I think it's really through the creation of the podcast and our connection with the Biohack Lab that we really connected. So excited again to have you here.
Definitely,
Thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you.
And so our guests know a little bit more about you. Can you tell us a little bit of your background?
So my name is Rania. For those of you who don't know me, I'm 24 years old. I was raised in Haiti. I grew up there my whole life. I got into the biohacking and health space really through my family, who just really inspired my journey. I was dealing with a lot of health issues. I was unable to lose weight throughout my whole life. And they really took me under their wing and guided me through another space, really another realm of health and reality. And I fell in love with it. I studied in school, like in college, public health and psychology. I'm very passionate about helping others. And that's just, I know in my soul that that's my mission on earth, is to help other people. So I've always been trying to navigate, like, where would I end up? Would I be... I started as a lawyer. That didn't work out.
What?
Yeah.
No.
My first major when I went to American University in DC,
Okay.
and I was pre-law. And guys, I went to my first law class,
way.
intro to law, in like literally
yeah.
law 101.
Yeah.
I texted my mom 5 minutes in. I'm like, this is not for me. She's
Oh,
like,
wow.
what? You didn't
Oh
give it
my-
a chance. And I'm like, Mom, like, you don't understand. Like, this is not, like, I was grateful to be there and learn more
Mhm.
about law in general, but that was not me.
Good thing you followed your gut.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was gonna
And
say. So you knew so quickly too.
I literally instantaneously knew.
Okay.
I've always been very in touch with that, like, side of myself. But then, you just try to turn the voice
push it
off
down,
when it's
yeah.
not
Yes.
convenient for you.
Mhm, mhm.
And so that's how I got into public health and psychology, and I was like, okay, health is where it all begins,
Mhm.
of just being who you need to be and assisting others in their journey of just being the best versions of themselves, whether that's mentally with psychology or physically with public health. Growing up in a country where health felt
Yeah.
more like a privilege, when health is a right, everybody has their
Yeah.
health, but it's all
Mhm.
about what's around you. So that's really what got me in the space. And
Wow, so
yeah,
interesting.
so that's how I got to the Biohack Lab with my family, and it's changed my life. So I'm very passionate about it because I want to have other people experience what I've experienced, or even if it's a smidge of that, just to know that there's hope of being the best version of you, which sounds very cliche, But that's what it really all comes down to for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for us too with this podcast is all about being the best version of you.
Yeah,
So-
and just exploring different parts of yourself, understanding them, whether it's a physical thing or a physiological thing or emotionally. Like, where is this coming from and why is it maybe even becoming physical? So definitely. That's me, I guess, in a nutshell.
Yay! So that's essentially what the topic of the episode is going to be today, all about health, wellness, healing, biohacking.
All my favorite things.
Yes.
Our favorite biohacker right here.
So we are starting a new tradition with our first guest.
Oh my God, awesome.
Before coming on, we asked you to think about an intention for the episode.
Yes.
So what we'll have you do is light this candle over here and set the intention to ground the...
Do you want to like...
Yeah, of course. Oh my God. Oh, it's eucalyptus is my favorite.
Are you kidding? Because we were like, you said you liked fresh scents.
This
So we're
is
like,
so
okay, we got a
funny.
eucalyptus mint.
This is like literally my favorite. This is so weird. Well,
Are
not
you-
weird. Because my mom, when you literally, I don't know why I was freaking out about coming on here, but I was telling my mom, like, I don't wear any fragrance anymore. Like, so she's like, but you love lavender. I'm like, I love anything fresh. Honestly, I just don't like sweet. So I said, they'll figure it out. And then you guys got it right on the nail.
Oh my gosh.
Wow,
and
that's
this
crazy.
candle is coconut wax, so natural wax. It has a
I knew
wood
that this would
wick.
be like. I saw it. I'm like, they know.
And it's obviously no fragrance. It's just
It smells so
essential
good.
oils.
It smells so good though. Okay, so I light it and I say my intention.
You say your intention.
Okay, so I'm gonna light the candle. This is like ASMR. Okay, my intention for the podcast today with you guys is to remind people or anybody watching this and just ourselves how important it is to reconnect with our bodies and to trust our bodies and their natural processes. So that's my intention. And to empower ourselves and just one another and remind each other how important it is to be you and reconnect with that part of you. Whatever it is, if
Love
it's
it.
emotional or physical, you got it. You can you connect with yourself. Did I do this right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea.
And we're gonna keep it lit the entire episode.
Me forgetting how to use a lighter.
No, that was great. So we'll start with the obvious question,
Okay,
which
awesome.
is, what is biohacking? You've answered this before on the vlog, but we'll say it again for anyone
Of
that might have
course,
missed it.
this is a great question to start with, just to set the stage. Whoever hears this, this is always the prime example I like to use because it's just the easiest way to explain it. So biohacking, if you deconstruct the word, the first part of it being bio, so it's biology, and the second word being hacking, which is just manipulating something to be faster or better, or in that capacity. So biohacking is hacking your biology to being more efficient. Now, there's different levels of doing this, but the easiest way I like to explain it is if someone wears like a pair of glasses, reading glasses, they're using a tool to enhance their physical biology. So you wouldn't be able to see without your glasses. Or if somebody takes a vitamin D supplement, instead of going and sitting out in the sun, so your body's still receiving, you are hacking your cells to receive what they need. So it's just making your body faster, more efficient, or using different tools, or at the lab where I work, modalities that just enhance your body's natural processes. So it's nothing that's invasive. I mean, it could be, but that's not the route that I'm on, to make your body work better. So that's what biohacking is really.
Amazing.
And it's a practice as old as time. People have been doing it for centuries, just in different ways.
And I guess there's more and more, like, I assume every day there's something new that's coming
Oh my God.
into like that field.
Always. And the funny thing about the new things that are coming out is that they all come back to nature, which is something that we preach. And everyone's like, what? Yeah, like red light therapy, what's in your mask is the first ray of light in the beginning of the day, in the morning. PEMF therapy, for example, which you guys experienced. I remember that.
It was amazing.
So that's post-electromagnetic field therapy. That's mimicking the Earth's electromagnetic field. So when people ground or they earth, I love calling it earthing. I think that's super cool.
I love that term too.
And you're receiving those pulsations through your feet. So It's just then people create all, like, now we have a mask with red light therapy, and but that's always going back to nature. So it's interesting to see how we're able to manipulate technology now,
Right.
to be able to mimic those things.
Yeah,
but
to
people
lead us
never
there.
think about the natural aspect of it too.
Right.
And I think the PEMF was your favorite treatment,
Yeah,
right?
it
That we
was.
did that day.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I remember like when you were explaining that treatment that you were saying like, oh, it's like earthing, and I was like, oh, when you just said nature, I was like, yeah, we're going back to nature and like doing like
That's
grounding
all that it is. Yeah, and it's one of my favorite treatments too. They're all my favorite, but that one specifically, it just feels so good.
Is that okay? So if my next question for you is gonna be,
Oh my God,
is there
Yes.
one treatment that it really shines for you that you love and is your go-to biohacking?
Oh my God, this is such a hard question for me. I think it comes in phases for me of how I'm exploring the space, and also, are you asking me for myself or for other people?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
I would say for me, these days I've really been prioritizing getting rid of what no longer serves in my body. So right now I'm in a big infrared sauna kick.
Okay.
Like, as much as I can get in the infrared sauna, I'm there, and just being able to have that time for myself and allow my cells to do what they need to do to release, and through sweating or just stimulation. But for other people these days, I've been on a big PEMF kick, because I always say this, is that we're electric beings and our cells need voltage to function. So anybody that comes in, I'm able to look at people and I'm like, everybody would serve from this therapy unless there's any contraindication. So your cells are like little batteries, and that type of voltage that goes through your body recharges them. So why wouldn't, it's like, it makes everything else better. So I always gravitate to that. I'm like, PMF therapy.
Like anyone, no matter what, will benefit.
Anyone. For
from
me,
it.
it's like red light and PMF. If you can't do anything else, those are the two I'll like gravitate towards for you.
Interesting.
Because one is promoting blood flow and recharging your body and your cells. So red light, basically what it does is that it's able to go in through your cells and produce more ATP, which is cellular currency, or energy as people like to call it. So when your cells have more ATP, they're super juiced up and excited. They can then go and do so many incredible things in your body. So there's never really one indication for red light. I call it the one-stop shop, just because you're like boosting production of collagen, check. Like creating circulation, check. Like alleviating any tension in your muscles, and even on an emotional level, red light is great to help balance your emotional state too. And then when you have PMF therapy, it's recharging your cells at a different capacity. So you're giving them two beautiful things to work with. And then you just trust the process then after. And then there's so many other things that you can do, but those are I call them foundational things.
Is there any treatment that you're like, oh, it's not too much for me, or like I don't really love that treatment,
or maybe one that's like overrated, like in the industry that you've seen?
Overrated, I would just say like anything extreme. I wouldn't say there's one particular thing that I can think of right now where I'm like, this is so overrated. I would just say like everybody trying to overdo everything, because I'm big on balance. I don't like any extremes. Like extremism freaks me out. So whether someone is like too into it or not into it at all, I'll just like, okay, find your balance. Find
a good middle.
Where I'm like, then things become overrated, because it's then you're harming yourself. Like doing too much of anything is just bad. So for me, it's like, okay, just don't overdo it.
Exactly.
I agree,
which is hard.
I was gonna ask you too, like after we did our whole day at the Biohack Lab, I was questioning for myself, realistically, which treatment would I want to incorporate in my life and how much of it would I want to do. I was thinking in particular for the red light, for example, would it be better I'm just thinking out loud, would it be better to go out in nature and actually be with the sun, or to do the red light? And is there like a balance in between? Like, how do you balance between doing the hacking stuff that mimics nature, but then also being in nature, you know?
That's a fabulous question. I think of that all the time. But the reason that a lot of these things exist is that the world that we're living in, or the societies that we grew up in, prevent us from being in that part of nature in some capacity. So like, I'm thinking when I was in college, I was in class most of the day, like in the library, blue lights everywhere. Like I wasn't even really taking care of myself. I was just stressing myself out about being done with school. So to go back to that, just depending on the lifestyles that we lead, if you have that time to go in the morning and get that first ray of sun, like for me, I'm all about it. And if you can't and you have access to red light therapy, then that's a good way to incorporate it in your lifestyle. But then it always comes down to an indication, because right now we're very blessed girls. Like we're in great health and great spirits, but sometimes people come in and they're not, feeling so well, or they're in a lot of pain. And that's why I'd be like, okay, maybe get your morning sunlight, but also let's do a little bit of red light therapy to help boost you on another level too.
It's like using this as a tool to, if you don't have the time, or maybe like in the area.
Yeah, that's
that
why
you
it's a
live in,
hack.
it's
That's the only reason. Like a lot of them, they exist because of, again, just to make it more intense, so that it's an easier way to absorb it. But I think for you, like if you can have like your morning coffee and you have your first ray of sun, like I'm all about that.
I love that.
But if you're feeling like, maybe let's say 1 week you're feeling more hormonal with acne, for example, and you're like, I need a bigger dose of this. Like,
So it's like
I'm
a
like, come in.
support.
something powerful.
Right. So you use it kind of like as a support for you too, like what you have access to, and then let those treatments and modalities and tools come into your life as support wherever you need.
I think before I was just so caught up with the idea of just doing everything all the time. And I was like, I went into like, I dove off the deep end. And that's when you hurt yourself, because that's not realistic. Like, or you just don't get, you have to be able to be, and we say this all the time, in a parasympathetic state. So in a relaxed state for anything to work. Because if you're stressed about your relationship or your job or the 5 million other things we have on our minds all the time for some reason, how does your body know to give attention to your liver?
Right.
Or how does your body know to say, oh my God, she broke her toe, let's go and get... No, your body's like, her boyfriend, or
It's
whatever.
focusing on whatever you set your mind to.
Exactly. So when you're in that state of relaxation, where you are able to surrender, like we like to say, and just be there and, okay, whatever. Then your cell's like, ooh, okay, let's go and unclog her liver. Like, now we have the time.
It's
Because
like you allow your body the time to heal. And Olga also said that in the last episode we posted on
saw that.
Sound Bath.
Yeah.
She was mentioning that for you to get to that parasympathetic state, like you're saying, which is super relaxed state, and then the sound bowls, the frequencies are then able to do what they need to do in order to
and that's
help you heal.
the beauty of it. And frequencies are so powerful. So I was just like so happy when you guys posted that. I'm like, this is such a cool episode. Because it's just different and people don't tap into it as much as they should, I feel.
Right.
Is there something specifically that you do that makes you relax? Is something that you have like a go-to, like, or meditation or breathing, or is there something specific that you do?
Oh, this is a great question. Oh, these are great questions. I would say recently, within the last 7 months, I had a big shift. I would just usually get home, eat dinner, make dinner, whatever, shower, PJs, skincare, like doom scrolling on my phone, go to sleep, which I know how bad doom scrolling is, but sometimes I just wanted to like shut my mind off.
Yes.
And that's just a bad habit that we have because it's so accessible. Or I would watch a show or something. So I told myself, okay, no, I need to start implementing something that allows me to reflect on my day and be able to go to bed and not have so much on my mind.
Yes.
So I was speaking to one of my mentors, her name is Alice, and she was like, why don't you just write 5 things you're grateful for every night? Which sounds like something like, oh, why didn't I think of that type of thing? So that's one practice I do every night.
Okay.
Even if I come home, literally, like if I was drinking, it's 4 a.m. I don't care. I'm in my bed. Yeah, those are like the funniest ones.
I would love to like read back to those.
I have to send you guys pictures. It's so funny. I don't do that often, but I'm like, I don't care. This is 5 things.
And do you like to handwrite or on your phone? Okay.
Handwrite and a blue pen. Because I read like 6 years ago that when you write something with a blue pen, it's more likely to stay in your brain.
No.
What? I use a black one.
Me too. I use black.
I like literally would just, and every night I write, and it's so great to look back and say, you know what? I have so much to be grateful for. And I wake up the next day. I do take a lot of deep breaths when I'm done writing and I like pray at night. just to
Okay.
say thank you, because there's so much to be grateful for
Mhm.
every single day. And once you are able to have, one of my favorite speakers, his name is Benazati, he calls it vitamin G, like it's vitamin gratitude. So whenever you're able to implement that in your life, I feel that everything else just falls into place too. And
Mm.
it's just been life-changing for me. That's what I do to wind down, because I'm like, I could be so upset about something or angry or anxious.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, the hell? Like, why? Why care?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much more to be happy about
Yes.
or to change. And I allow myself to feel the anger. I allow
Yeah.
myself to feel the anxiety, or whether it's sadness or being upset. I don't believe in dismissing feelings. I
Mhm.
always say, like, you need to feel it to heal it. But
Mhm.
that's just another way of, okay, I felt it. Now what? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna sit here and be mad, like,
Yeah.
and in my
Right.
feelings. And
You have to
like,
turn it
no.
into something like, I personally really believe also in feeling it to heal it, but
Yeah.
in order to heal it, you have to take that negative, quote unquote, negative emotions and transform it into something positive. So if you just let it
Absolutely.
be negative and that's
It's
all
gonna
it is,
fester. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
transforming that into something positive, I think, is key
It's
to the healing process.
absolutely. And going off of that too, like, I even tell myself, okay, this horrible thing, quote unquote, just happened to me. But I always tell myself, like, there's a reason that this happened.
Mhm.
I don't know it now, but there's a reason. And it always
Mhm.
comes forward
Mhm.
of, okay, I shouldn't have, okay, now this is taking me where I need to be. And I wanted to touch on that, and we'll probably get to that, of just knowing what you're vibing at to know
Mhm.
what you're worth having as well. So if does that even make sense?
Go,
No,
yeah,
yeah.
go deep into it.
No, yeah.
It's like, if you the universe can't give you what you're not ready to receive.
Mhm.
So things need to happen, okay, to you in order for you to get to where you're going. So I can never be truly angry about something or that has happened, because I know it's for my highest purpose. Now,
Yes.
emotions do come with that. And I
Mhm.
don't like to be like toxic positivity. That's not my vibe at all. But more like, okay, this happened. I'm really upset that this happened. Was this the intention that the person had? Was it to hurt me? It all comes back to the intention. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, now I can move on. How much time it takes me to move on is another story. But I just trust. I've learned to just surrender and trust, which is hard, because we always want to be in control of everything. I don't know if you guys relate to that.
No,
Oh,
for
so
sure.
much.
Oh my
I
God.
feel like your vocabulary right now is so in sync with what we've been just
Yeah.
repeating and repeating and repeating.
Yeah.
So I
I'm-
love that. And we also work towards all of the things that you mentioned. So
Or it's aligned.
Yeah, totally. It's like, it's specifically what you're saying about the emotions. It's like, instead of like dismissing them and being like pushing them down, it's like, just feel them, understand why you're feeling them, and try to be like, understand. Then you can like take them away of your, like, take them out of your brain or your system. But it's like, they're there, and you understand them and you
Yeah.
feel them, and then you're ready to move on. But it's like,
For
if you keep
sure.
pushing them away, it's just like putting like a band-aid, and
Yeah, it's a
eventually it's
band-aid
gonna
on a
blow
boat
up. Yeah.
wound. Exactly.
Yeah,
I say that
yeah.
all the time, I love analogies. I'm a big analogy girl. And I like to always think of us humans as like pressure cookers.
Okay.
So when you're cooking something in a pressure cooker, the pressure builds up. It's then able to cook faster or have more flavor and things like that, right?
Uh-huh.
But when you're releasing the pressure in a pressure cooker, it has to be done in a specific way. If not, literally it's gonna blow up, explode in the kitchen, and it's like a whole other thing you have to deal with that you didn't want to deal with in the first place. So I consider us pressure cookers. You need to slowly release the pressure. If not, it's gonna be a big explosion in the kitchen. And who wants that? Then that's a whole other mess to clean up, because you've just let things go deep and go deep and go deep, and then they don't have anywhere else to go but up.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And I preach, or not preach, but I say this all the time, but even with myself, I was talking to my cousin the other day, and she's like, Rania, it's like a beach ball. It's the beach ball analogy. Like, if you have a beach ball and you press it down underwater, it's going to come back up. But the further you press it down, the higher up it's going to go. And I was like,
Wow,
oh
yeah,
my
that's a
God.
good analogy.
Like, what? Like, yeah. And she's just inspired me that way, to just be able to understand, like, okay, there's times and places to release.
Yeah.
Release is important. And even on a physical level, guys, like, I've worked at Biohack. It's been 2.5 years now. And
It feels like, I'll just pause you there, remember what you're saying, but you can watch the vlog. It feels like you've been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, you're really in it, and understand each and
Yeah.
everything, even
You're
your
s-
vocabulary, the way that you express
Yeah, so
yourself. So
knowledgeable.
knowledgeable.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you. I feel like I've learned a lot in that space in so many ways because I was always so very much structure based, or not necessarily. I'm a disciplined person in some capacity, but always like in school, you know, with school you have assignments, you get grades, there's a structure there, there's a
Mhm.
curriculum. And then when I got to start working outside of being in school, I was like, wait, like I'm not gonna get a grade. Like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna get like I did good or bad. Like this is
Mhm.
just
Okay, like
life.
feedback.
Like,
Yeah.
no feedback because you're addicted to the feedback.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
addicted
Yes.
to receiving validation.
Validation.
Yes.
Because grades
that's
are
the word.
validation.
Mhm.
Or
Yes.
when someone likes your Instagram story, that's validation.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
And then you crave it, but it's not real. It's all
Mhm.
like psycho. So I learned in that space that it had to become like my school. I was
Mm.
like, you know what? Got there and I was like, I need to immerse myself in this. I literally, when I was leaving DC to move back to Miami, I told myself, you know what? I'm diving into work. I don't care about my social life. I don't care about anything. I want to be like in my career. And
Oh wow.
that just shows you how powerful intentions are. But
Mhm.
I had literally, my friends were like, we never see you. I had no, I literally set an intention so powerful, it like disrupted everything else. That's what I was telling you about extremism. Like I was
Right.
literally, guys, living, breathing, sleeping, everything about biohacking.
Wow.
That's all I was doing, and it consumed me,
Mm.
which is great. But then I work with my family and they're like, you're like 23 years old, right? Like you need to go and get a drink and like do something fun. Like
Right.
it's Saturday. Like we're like, and I was like, yeah, like what? I totally forgot I was 23.
What do
And
you
you get
mean?
caught up in all of that. So I immersed myself in it. And one of the biggest lessons I learned there was that we always try to imagine, which I'm glad that you guys understand this, but a lot of people don't realize that your emotional health, your physical health, and your spiritual health are one. You're
Mhm.
one
Yeah.
being.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so
totally.
when emotions fester, or we don't express emotions, or we have a lot of anger or resentment, guys, those are the things that create health issues. Those are
Yeah.
the things that might lead to chronic diseases. Those are the things
Mhm.
that will, there's so many levels to it, but it can fester and manifest itself in your body.
Mhm.
And there's a whole science about it.
No,
Yes.
Like whether you're sick in your liver, which emotion, or whether you're sick in your knees or your back. And that resonates so much with me because it's not like, okay, yeah, you hit your knee and you have knee pain.
Right,
Okay, yes,
that's a
that did
different
happen.
story.
But like, what is your body trying to tell you? And I ask
Exactly.
myself
I
that
even
question
feel-
all the time. I'm like, what are
Mhm.
you trying to tell me? Talk to
Yeah,
me.
totally.
Exactly. There's a reason why you hit your knee as well. It's like, okay, yeah, you're just feeling pain because you hit your knee, but there's a reason why your higher self wanted yourself to hit your knee.
Yeah. And my friends are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, Rania. I'm like, but
No.
which side of your body is it? Is it the masculine or the feminine?
Oh, yeah,
Like-
that's so funny.
I love
My
that.
friends, oh my God. Thank God they love me because I'm always like, no, don't touch that. Don't touch receipts. And they're like, what is it now?
Oh, right, because I saw that
Oh,
it has,
yeah. Yeah, totally.
it can like seep through your
Yeah.
skin,
Yeah,
right?
so the receipts
What
are
do you
covered.
do?
I just
Don't.
avoid receipts as much as possible.
Yeah, no
Oh, so you
receipt.
don't
But now-
ask for them.
Yeah, like, and
Nah.
if I get them, I just throw it away right away.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I know it sounds like such a little mundane thing.
mhm.
Like, I know I sound crazy, and that's fine.
You
I'll
do.
take it.
You're
I'll
never
take it
crazy on
No.
here.
But I feel like, why would I go and touch something, which
Yeah.
is like, okay, now we're just thinking about a receipt, but what it's gonna do to me? It's literally
Not
going through my
paper.
skin and harming my cells. So why would I actively do that?
Mhm,
Which
mhm.
Yeah.
we'll take anything else as an example of that. The receipt is one part.
Yeah, but it's like choosing your battles. It's like, why would, like, you don't need the receipt. Like, unless you need it to,
Yeah,
for
and they're
something,
like,
why
okay,
would we
and
get
then
it?
now I'm like, look what they're like passing laws in California now or something about
Oh.
that. So
Wow.
yeah.
But I totally agree with, like, your emotions, like, can cause you any diseases, because for example, like with my bloating, I struggle with bloating. I have an episode where I was talking about it, and I was doing hypnotherapy. It's like connecting your brain with your gut, and they were like, in the therapy would guide you through it, and it will make you understand how powerful like the emotions are as well within like the whole system. And in the digestive system, you have like a lot of emotions. So it's
your
like
second brain.
the second brain. So it's like I was struggling so much with that. And then I went to my acupuncture months ago and I was telling her that I struggle with my knee and my shoulder. And she was like, which side? I'm like, see, all of them are on the right side. And she was like, that's your feminine side. I'm like, okay.
Damn, another one. Thank you.
I was like, okay, what should I do?
Her acupuncturist is like
No, yeah, she's like my best friend.
amazing.
I
She-
love that.
yeah.
Acupuncture is incredible.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like,
Have you done a
crazy.
session before?
Yeah, actually, so I have so many interesting stories to share with
Tell
you.
us.
Everything.
Everything.
I got introduced to acupuncture through my aunt,
Okay.
Natasha. She's the founder of the Biohack Lab. I'm obsessed with her. I call her my guardian angel, mentor, queen. Like every day I have a new name for her. She's like, okay. Like, okay. She brought me to see these doctors in Pembroke Pines, Dr. Yelena and Dr. David. We actually work with them now. We collaborate in their clinic. And she introduced me to them. At the time, I was on birth control for about like, I would say 2.5 years. But my period was like still irregular. I was extremely inflamed and I just had a lot of other things going on. And she's like, come and meet them, have a consult with them. They're super kind and they'll walk you through. Maybe you'll do acupuncture. I'm like, but what am I going to do? She's like, they'll see when you get there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm trusting. I literally trust her with my life. I'm like, okay, I'm walking into this experience. And the minute they saw me, they're like, okay, you need to get off of birth control. We're going to be doing acupuncture. And Dr. Elena specifically laid me down on the table to do acupuncture for me. And I was like, before I got into biohacking at this level, I was such a little baby. I was scared of everything. Like, I was brought up with a lot of fear. So I was always had a lot of fear about everything. But she literally was like, she has no fear. She's the opposite of me at that point, right? And I'm laying on my, literally almost probably naked or something with like, and she's feeling my stomach.
Okay.
And as she's feeling my stomach, she's putting needles in my body. And then the pain that I felt of her pressing down is gone. And I'm like, oh my God, this is super cool. Because I've always been into anything spiritual, anything I'm in.
Give
I
it
wanna
to me.
try. And she was telling me things about myself.
Wow.
That I had literally, guys, never said out loud. But this is like more of an intuitive thing too.
Okay.
I love
And
that.
so at the time, I was about like 245 pounds.
Okay.
The heaviest I've ever been is 265 pounds. And so she literally looked at me in the eyes and she's like, I know you want to get gastric bypass surgery. If you guys aren't familiar with that, that's a surgery where they literally go and they put a balloon in your stomach to make your stomach smaller, or they'll like cut your stomach in half. Or
Wow.
I'm not saying it properly.
Like very
medically.
invasive.
Super invasive, so that you then you eat less,
Yeah.
and then you lose weight. But like now what I know, like that's just horrible. Or there are indications, I'm not going to say it's horrible, but for me, it's not aligned.
Okay.
And I was like, how did you know that? She goes, I felt it. I was like, okay. And she's like, don't do it. And I was like, thank you. That's the sign I needed.
Wow.
Because the more research I did, there's so many other things that come with it.
Yeah,
But
it's super invasive.
she then did my whole acupuncture with me. And then she was telling me how I have chronic inflammation, because it's so funny. Before, like if someone were to touch me, I would be in so much pain.
Wow.
But I thought that was normal. So whenever my cousins would like pinch me, like I'd like start screaming and they're like, you're so dramatic, or like, but I felt everything more intensely.
Wow.
And she was like, Rania, like, okay, you need to do acupuncture regularly, because one, we want to regulate your period, your cycle. And two, because of the inflammation and other things that at the time she was telling me I had going on. And I was living in DC, but she was like, you need to do cryotherapy as much as you can to help with the inflammation. And her husband, Dr. David, got me on Chinese herbs. Okay. So basically they do like a customized protocol, and it's like, it's the most high maintenance thing ever. You have to like boil the herbs, specific amount of water before your meal. And I was like in it. And she's the one that told me I had fatty liver. So all of these things literally by touching my stomach.
Wow.
All she knew was my name, that I was Natasha's niece. And then she literally I was like, this is a whole, everybody around
Like
me
she
needs to
mapped your
experience.
entire
She
body.
mapped me, guys. It was,
Wow.
and then emotionally mapped me too. I was like crying, like we're having like a heart. I was like literally crying. Like
That's
I'm like have all these needles on me, like on my head, on my toe, and I'm like having this moment with her, and it was so powerful. So
That's beautiful.
love acupuncture.
And how often were you going afterwards?
The fact that I lived in DC, I couldn't find an acupuncturist that was really aligned with how they did it.
Right.
But I would come to Miami once a month. And every time I came, I made it a priority to go and see them. And they would ship my herbs to DC for me.
Oh, wow.
And I was on like, and it changed my life. I was feeling emotions I hadn't felt in so long because with birth control, that's a whole other rabbit hole. But emotionally and hormonally, I wasn't able to feel things that kind of numbed me.
Yeah, we had an episode where we were talking about that. It's like you feel flat. Or that's how what's our experiences at least. It's
and
like
I didn't know
flat.
I was flat because it becomes your new normal.
You normalize it,
And then I started being able to. Then my period was super regular, and I got my Oura ring, and my Oura helped me track my cycle even more. And I was like, what? Like you know,
we
all
both
of my
have Oura
friends.
rings too.
It's amazing. I love tracking, so I think it's so cool.
Same. I love it.
So it's important, like, to just have experienced things, and you know, it works for us.
Yeah.
But I believe in bio-individualism, meaning it's up to you.
Yeah,
what works for me is not going to work for you. It might, and that's awesome, but it might not. Like, so I just have people share that experience with them.
Yeah. And I love what you mentioned earlier about when I asked you what was your favorite biohacking treatment, that you said right now your intention is to let go of what no longer serves you, and so you use the sauna. I think it's a beautiful way to align intention with your physical self.
Absolutely.
Like spirituality and physicality, I guess, if you can put it that way. So to transition into that, how do you merge the two? Because I know there's a very spiritual side to you and a very scientific, more research-based and physical side to you.
Yeah, I would say it's hard sometimes, if I'm being completely honest, because when you're in the thick of life and you're on autopilot, and I was talking to my friends about that the other day, came up and we're on autopilot and we don't even realize what we're saying or what we're doing. And like someone asked me the other day, like, get me a glass of water. I literally checked out. I was like, and they're like, you know, I asked you for a glass of water, right? And I'm like, oh my God, like, am I becoming stupid? But no, it's because you're on that autopilot mode.
Yeah.
So being able to go in introspectively, I've realized that I need to make that time for myself to reconnect with my body. And that's where I was like, that's why that's my intention today with you guys, because it's so easy to disconnect from yourself and just do work, you know, and it's beautiful that you guys have this to come back to and ground yourselves with.
Yes.
That's very powerful, and have these conversations because it's easy to get out of it. And so for me, it's just making the time and say, okay, what am I feeling right now? Like, what is my body trying to tell me? But my body, you think my body's going to try to talk to me when I have, like, I'm doing 12 things at a time and I'm not, and I'm burnt out or, so that's just setting the time for me. And I'm like, you know what? This is my priority right now, is doing the sauna and getting myself in the sauna. Okay, I'm going to start with once a week and I'm going to build off of that. And then I shift my intention to that. And then there are times where I have everyone at work is like, you're not doing anything for yourself. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what do I do? So I think it's just being able to, and then sometimes it's a physical thing where, okay, I'm on my period and I want to prioritize PMF therapy because that area of my body is working so hard for me. I want to go and give it more voltage. Or I'll read about something online, which is like the science based in me. And I'm like, this feels like this could be something for me to try. And then I go and I lean towards that.
And that's a great reminder too, that we're always like, we talk about this a lot, that we're always on like autopilot and automatic mode, and it's like we're doing things out of like routine, and sometimes we're like doing things so fast that it's like, what am I even doing at this point? So it's a great reminder for everyone that it happens to everyone, and it's just like, try to step back and
take a step back and take a deep breath. Literally take a breath.
And we also talk about narrating what you're doing. That has helped both of us so much.
Wait, get into that with me, because I want to add that to the scope of my life.
So anything that, like, if you're doing your eggs, for example, you had talked about this in one episode. Okay, I'm scrambling the eggs. I'm taking the salt. You're literally narrating everything
out loud
in your head or out loud, whatever you want.
Because sometimes it's like you're doing it so fast. For example, like sometimes I have like 20 minutes to make breakfast, like pack my lunch, shower. So I'm like thinking about everything at the same time. So it's like I'm scrambling the eggs and then like taking the water and then my lunch. And then it's like, wait, it's like,
What am I
let me
doing?
like,
Yeah, step by step, like be present with
and
it.
also
gonna
it's
grab-
like rushing so much that it's like, let me just take a step back and like do things fast, but not rushing. It's like, okay, let me just scramble the eggs fast, but it's not like as if I'm like the world is gonna end. It's like, wait, you have time. If you get to work 1 minute later, it's fine. Like
Mhm.
the world is not gonna end. And yesterday I saw like a TikTok video that they were talking about like if things come out the way you want, this is how the world would look, and if things come out the way that you don't want, the world will look the same. It's like nothing's gonna change.
I
it's
love
like
that.
This is
you
true.
you
This is
stress
true.
out so much about like
Yes.
if you're thinking about an outcome, this is gonna happen. If you think about something like the outcome, it's gonna be different. The world is gonna like still go around. It's
Mhm.
fine.
Like
And
the world is literally not gonna end. But you
Yeah.
got to work 5 minutes late.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine. So
And to that, my aunt, there's like this saying that I always keep repeating in my head whenever I'm rushed. Yeah, I'll say it in French and then I'll translate it in English. Quand tu es pressé, va plus doucement. So when you're in a rush, go slower. And every time I'm rushing, I'm like, okay, I need to go slower. But it's like slow, but quick slow.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
like
like,
a quick flow.
okay, like present quick. There's a difference between chaotic quick and you're bound to make a mistake. You're bound to forget something. You're bound to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
it could
beating on
lead-
yourself.
Yeah, it could lead to other like not bad, but like
No, yeah. what-
chaotic energy in your day. But if you just take the time, and there's a saying too that if you miss the bus, it wasn't your bus.
oh my
Like
God. I say
Yes.
that all the time. That's
Yeah.
so true.
yeah,
I say that like if you were rushing and running to the bus and you get on it, that was your bus. But if you're rushing and the bus left, that wasn't your
it
bus to
wasn't your
take.
bus,
Or
yeah.
if you're
And
literally
I love that.
We
strolling.
talked about it together last time.
Yeah, we
spoke.
did.
Yeah.
I believe we did. Because it's
Yeah.
I love
like,
that.
and then it's like if you're strolling and you're expecting the bus to wait for you. No, like that's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
Or
It's
if
like-
it's
That's a
there,
different
then that is
story,
yours.
yeah.
That's
yeah,
whole
it's a
other
balance.
story.
There has to be a good amount of effort to show that you want it and you're working towards it. But if it doesn't align in that moment, it's fine.
Yeah, and like even if you were strolling to get like, I just feel like whatever's meant to be yours will be yours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me to even say that. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but it's true because it's like we put so much expectation and pressure on ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to have everything perfect all the time, or at least I say I'm a former perfectionist, even though it still
we
lives
both
a little bit inside of me.
We're kind of the same.
Kind of like it's hard because I used to have this really bad thought process that
Mm.
once I'm like, let's say like if I used to think like, oh my God, if I lost 50 pounds and I had straight A's and then I'm gonna be so happy. And my therapist was like, what? She's like, Rania, literally, what are you talking about? You are so self-aware. I can't believe you just said that. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? She's like,
Mm.
happiness happens now. If you're not happy now, you're gonna have like, you can be a billionaire, or
Mhm.
maybe that's a bad example, but like you will not be happy.
Yeah.
It starts within you. You're putting an emotion, you're attaining it to an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So what,
yeah.
you're only going to be happy when you lose 50 pounds? So what, in the process of losing 50 pounds, you're just going to be miserable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like hatred, like what? No.
Yeah.
You need, and that's where the gratitude always comes back in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's good to remind yourself, like, I'm grateful that my body's working. I'm grateful that I love my body. I'm grateful that
Mhm.
my liver's doing what it needs to do, or, my cells are just working with one another because
Yes.
Yeah, I love that it's true that we always attach an outcome to an emotion, and
we're
it's
taught
like
to,
yeah.
like, oh, you're upset. Okay, like, let's go and buy you ice cream or something. Like, you're
Exactly.
always,
True.
but no, wait, why are you upset? Wait, stop crying. What's going on? Talk to me.
Yes.
And my family makes so much fun of me for this because I have my goddaughter. Her name is Luisa, and her little sister's name is Isabel, and they live in Brazil. So anytime we see each other, if we're lucky, twice a year. But whenever we see each other, I'm so much older than them.
Mm.
And they, the other day, were fighting crazy, like a crazy fight. Sisters are like the worst to one another. And I'm like, stop. And they're like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, why are you yelling at us? I'm like, everybody sit down. And they're like, never seen me serious. So they're like, well, they should laugh. And I'm like, we're going to hold hands and we're going to take a deep breath. And they're like, oh my God, what? And I'm like, you're going to hold your sister's hand and we're all going to take a deep breath and we're going to talk about this. And their dad is like, oh my God, here we go. And everybody took a deep breath and we all calmed down. I'm like, tell me why you're upset with your sister. And they're like 12 and 10, right? And so they start telling, I'm like, okay, now tell your sister something you love about her. She's like, are you crazy? And she's like, I love that. Yeah, I don't love anything about her.
Oh, no.
And I was like, we're sitting here as a group until one of you can say something nice about one another. I'll start. And I made them do that and I made them reflect. And I'm like, you see, you didn't need to yell at her. You could have just told her, hey, what you're doing is upsetting me. But you think that by yelling, screaming, or crying, or pulling her hair, which we've all been there, will get you to a better outcome, but it won't.
Yeah.
So I was giving them like a spiritual lesson on the family trip, and everyone was like, okay, like let's see how long this lasts. But it's good to remind kids, okay, like take a deep breath, tell me what's going on. Because they don't have that emotional regulation that we have.
They're too.
Why would they?
Yeah.
Their brains are not developed at all. Like halfway through development. Like they don't know that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, everybody's in a circle. And they make fun of me, but they eat that shit up. They love it.
Next time you're gonna see them, like, take a deep breath, everyone.
And they're like, oh my God, that's the cousin that makes breathe.
She's the woo-woo cousin. That's me. I'm that cousin.
I'll be that person, you know? I'll own it
Fuck
and
it,
be that person that is woo-woo, that makes you breathe and that makes you reflect.
And if you don't like it, you know, they have free will, okay? They could have gone up and left, and they did it. So
very true. Very true.
Deep down, they liked it.
Low-key, yeah.
Okay, so now onto a more serious topic, because you mentioned about the brain, and this brought me back to our conversation when you were talking to me about you're passionate about the brain and you feel like everything starts there. And you've recently done some training around it. So do you want to talk about it? And
Sure, of course. Thank you for bringing that up. I've just been trying to navigate the space of what I want to quote unquote do, even though I'm doing things every day. I'm fortunate enough to work in a space and an environment and with a group of people who allow me to explore different things. And so I was introduced to this world of neuroscience that I didn't even really know existed. I was always more, to have like more background about me, very spiritual. Like I got into this already super spiritual. And so, but I know it always came down to affirmations and the way that you think and your thoughts create your reality, that type of mindset. But I didn't know that there was like a world of neuroscience or brain, brain health that allowed you to literally change your thoughts and let go of what no longer serves you. So through my job, I was introduced to what they call neurofeedback and just scanning the brain and seeing what's living in your brain. I've always been very curious, like, about anything about myself. So that's why I love, and I get made fun of this all the time, to see, like, I always want to see, like, I want to meet new healers. I want to, I tried, like, bioresonance therapy. I'll, like, do acupuncture. I'm like, okay, do, like, a, I want to do a scan me. I'm
blood work.
Plug me in.
Anything I can do, literally, to know more about me. I love that. So this is literally that. Okay. So taking your brain and being able to scan it, and from there,
what does a scan look like? Like, is it lines on paper or is it?
So it's what they call a QEEG. So it's a quantitative EEG, or basically they are tracking your brain waves and your brain activity. So a lot of people like, what am I wearing? What's on my head? There's different ways to do it. The way that we do it, or that I've seen other practitioners do it, is that it's with a cap, like that goes on your head like this. And some of them look really cool. They look like an octopus. I'll show you guys some pictures of the training I was at with Maddie, who's my cousin, and we worked together. I love that girl. Then it scans through different points of your brain. So there's different sections of your brain, but it's able to scan and see the feedback that it's getting from it, or the activity. And from there, I am still in awe of people who are able to read the brain waves, because I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, it's an art, literally. It's a practice, it's a science, it's an art. And they're able to see things. Not only are they scanning for activity, but they're scanning to see what's going on. So you do a portion of the scan. I'm going to go off of the QEEG, which is the scan that I know about, but where your eyes are closed. So for 10 minutes, let's say your eyes are closed. And they're like, okay, don't think about anything, which is the hardest part about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't relax. So usually
Like
in
a
a room,
meditation.
yeah, like you're in a meditation, but they're like, keep your eyes closed, don't move your head. And okay, now they're tracking your waves. Now, if you move or if you clench your jaw, which I had a bad habit of clenching my jaw, you see it right away on the brain. They're like, Rania, stop clenching your jaw. I'm like, what the fuck? How do these people know? And they're literally, of course, Rania, looking at a screen and they see.
Yeah.
So they track that, and then they track with your eyes open to see different, because that's when they're able to see different parts of your brain or see different levels of activity. And so when I did my first brain scan, I met with Alice, who I adore. She works with us as well at the Biohack Lab. She runs that whole department. We call it Mind Labs. And she sat me down to go over my scan. So I was literally looking at my brain. But for some reason, I didn't really know the depth of how, like, I didn't know how deep this was going to be. Like, I just thought, okay, you're overfiring this part of your brain. You're not using this part enough. I thought that's what it was going to be. It was that, but at another level.
Okay.
She was able to see, like, trauma that has lived in my brain. She was able to see anxiety, depression, and not really see it, but from the feet, like read it from. She's like, she didn't tell me you have anxiety. She didn't. She's not labeling you.
Okay.
She's like, have you ever felt like, do you feel sometimes that you have a little bit of social anxiety, Rania? Like when you go out, like, do you have this sensation? I'm like, how did you know that? She's like, are you joking? I'm looking at your brain. I'm like, oh shit, you can't lie. And it was shocking for a lot of like my family members to hear that I have social anxiety sometimes. Well, yeah, sometimes I have it because I'm very social and I love to interact with other people, but that's still something that I deal with.
Right.
Or she saw that, my brain I have something called, I don't have anything. I don't like to label that. But she noticed that in certain patterns of my brain that there is something called hypervigilance. So when you're vigilant, you are aware. But hypervigilance is you are hyper aware. And so you're constantly like, seeing what's going on in your environment. But why is my brain like that? Because I grew up in an environment where you always had to be aware of everything that was going on. I wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to school. Or like, okay, what's going on the right side, on the left? What's like, is there anybody trying to come into the car? Like, you're always aware. So it trains your brain to be like, she needs to always be like that. So even at work, I see everything all the time. Like I'll be talking to you and I see a machine that just went off. I'll hear someone talking, like I'm constantly aware. So it tires your brain out.
Yeah.
You're hurting.
It's like you're thinking extra.
You're thinking extra that's not necessary. But your brain believes that you need it.
I love comparing the brain to a computer, and I feel like that's like overheating your computer.
Yeah.
It's like never on sleep mode.
I like that.
Shh.
Oh my God, I know what you mean.
When it makes a sound.
When your computer starts making a sound, you're like, oh no.
I need to actually close all the tabs and close the computer.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was one aspect of it. And then she sees the beautiful things about, she's just able to go in and deep dive about you.
Okay.
But then, okay, you're conscious of these things. What are you going to do about it now? Everyone's like, oh, but then I find out I have this. And I'm like, take a deep breath. It all comes down also to consciousness. Like, if you're aware that that a part of your brain is dealing with, or that you sometimes have social anxiety, now that you know that for sure, what are you going to do about it? So it's more like, then, or if you see hypervigilance, what can I do about that? So she gives you a report of things that you can do. But some people want to take it to the next level. Like, why not continue enhancing your brain? So there's different levels to it. And the training that I went to was for QEEGs. So being able to scan people's brains, getting a clean reading, understanding the different parts of the brain. And then something called neurofeedback. So what neurofeedback is being able to identify what you want to, like, what are your goals? So let's say someone's coming in and they are dealing with symptoms of ADHD, or someone is dealing with a lot of anxiety. There's different indications of why people want to do it, or you just want to optimize your brain, which in the biohacking world, like you'll hear the word optimize all the time, but people really just want to level up.
Right.
Like, why not get yourself to that next stage? So what neurofeedback it's sending feedback to your brain. So imagine that you were playing a video game, but instead of having the controller in your hands, you were controlling it with your brain. So some people use it so we use different electrodes, which are just wires that are pasted on different parts of your brain, depending on why you're doing it. So there's a protocol for ADHD, there's a protocol for anxiety, there's a protocol for increasing your IQ. Let's put it that way. And then from there, you are looking at a screen. but it's monitoring your brain waves. It's tracking it through an EEG system. And it's able to say, okay, you'll see sometimes like the screen, depending on what the feedback is. If it's a sound, you'll hear the sound getting louder because you're getting your brain to that state. Or sometimes it's visual, like with kids, they use a lot more visual, like you're controlling a car and the car will go faster or slower. So it's sending a feedback to your brain. So then your brain knows how to use that part in a better way. If that makes any sense.
It's like exercising a muscle.
It's literally
It's like
okay.
It's exercise
really
for your brain.
exercise.
We have a program called Brain Gym, which is what it's all about. So we do a QEEG to start, and then it lays out the mapping of the person. And then from there, they can do these sessions. We call them frequency sessions because it's different frequencies with the brain. And you work with our specialist, and she will then indicate, okay, this is what we need to focus on. And then you get 10 sessions. It's incredible. Like,
how long are the sessions?
30 minutes, 40 minutes, I would say. I'm learning, I'm gauging more about it now. And in the training, it was cool to just see, like, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah, no.
So there's another way that people do it, which is the program we have called the Mind Reset, which is 5 days. It's an intensive program. And
is it at the Biohack Lab?
It's at the Biohack Lab, but it's like we literally shut down the lab for a week. And there's like 3 people that do the training with Alice. And what it entails is that you're doing the scan. And then from there, you are working literally from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. of training your brain. So it's another level of what they call neurofeedback.
I imagine you must be so tired.
I was going to say, is it exhausting?
I haven't done it yet. I'm dying to do it. And I'm going to be doing it very soon. But what it does is that they're able to get your brain to a state of alpha, which I know you guys are familiar with brainwaves. So when for those of anybody listening who's not, when your brain is in a state of alpha or your alpha brainwaves are increased, what happens is that you're in a state of love, gratitude, compassion, creativity, and just like a flow state. So you're very calm and relaxed. So they're able to get your brain to that state of alpha. But now when you're in alpha, what's going on? What are you able to see? Are you able to explore different parts of your brain? And that's when different things come up and they give you assignments of maybe going to forgive somebody. And then like you start to visualize things memories that you didn't even remember you had are coming up. Because experiences are what shape us today, right? We all know that. But at what capacity? Like one of the best examples I have of this is there's an author and psychologist. Her name is Marissa Peer. She has this book. It's called Tell Yourself a Better Lie. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard so much about it. And what she does, this is going to loop around, I promise, back to the same topic. But what she does is it's a type of regression therapy, which you've done hypnosis. Have you done hypnosis before?
No, I've never.
So she, from what I understand, puts you in a state of hypnosis and you speak to her about what's going on. What's your biggest what's your issue right now? And then she's able to take you to the first memory of how that came to be in your life. We don't realize how much impact our childhoods have on us, or just little things that was said to you and how it can impact the rest of your life. So she had this woman that came to see her, and this woman was, dressed in a very masculine way. And this woman's family believed that she was a lesbian, of course. And the family, and she was like, I'm interested in men, but men never come and speak to me. This is how I like to dress. I don't know what's everybody's problem. Just trying to gauge that. And Marissa was like, okay, let's see where this is coming from. Because she's like, it's hindering, my family doesn't believe me or trust me, or I don't remember exactly what it was. And when she got into her memories, the first memory that came to be was that she was a little girl and her mom went to eat lunch with her best friend. And they took her along. And the mom's best friend was like, oh my God, I can't believe you have a daughter. I know how much you wanted a son, the whole time you were pregnant or something. We thought that you were a boy, but look, you have a daughter, blah, 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 blah. And so she believed, from what was said, that she had to be a boy to be loved because her mom, that's all her mom wanted.
God, I just got chills.
So why not be what you're, and you're like, so imagine one conversation or experience shaped, if you will, the rest of her life until she was able to go and face it and understand it and then deal with it. So a lot of things that have transpired in our lives, we don't understand the impact, or you might blame your parents for something, but it might not have even been your parents that said that one thing. Could have been, I don't know, a family, I don't know, just anybody.
Right.
A stranger.
And also, too, it's okay, even if it's, let's say your parent says something, but they will never have any idea what
How-
word and how
It was,
impacted.
how would they
how you
know?
perceived it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would they? Like,
Mhm.
they're doing their best. And one book that I read that I literally cannot shut up about, and I give it to everybody around me, is
You Can Heal Your
You
Life.
Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. You need to read this book.
Okay.
Actually, I asked my higher self this morning, like I was telling you, like, what's the message I need to bring? And I opened that book and it gave me a message to share.
Oh, wow.
But she says in the book, which I never like to think of myself as a victim. I don't like that. I don't like that ideology at all.
Mhm.
But she says in the book, like, we're all victims of victims.
Mm.
Your parents, they are projecting onto you or raising you the way that they were raised, or in some cases the opposite of how they were raised. So you know that, I don't know if you guys have seen that on Instagram, but people are like, remember that it's your parents' first time living life too.
I love
Like,
that. I
and
love
it's
that.
true. There's so many levels to this too. I can only speak for myself, but it's whether you're able to accept that thought process too.
Mhm.
And it's not that what happened to you is okay. You know, it's not like I'm dismissing what has happened, but it's also like, okay, it's done. Now, what can I do about it?
Yeah.
But then there's another mindset that's like, there's so many different schools of thought, but this is the one that aligns with me. But people are like, oh, but that's still, you're still going to continue to do that, or you perpetuate ideas in your mind. But I say, like I've been saying through this whole time, it's like, that was meant to happen to me. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm talking about my experience specifically. But then what is it going to do to keep thinking that or being negative about it? It's just more like, okay, this has happened. I've accepted it. What am I going to do about it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to let this experience shape the rest of my life and just be mad about it and be an angry person? Or am I going to release it and deal with it? Because half of, like you said, your parents don't, or the people don't know.
Yeah.
People are just saying things.
Yeah,
Unless they're
it's
out
like-
to hurt you, which that can happen too.
Yeah, unless it's intentional. But it's so true because whenever I heard that they're leaving for the first time as well, I started to think about it because it's like, they're your parents. You think they know it all, so it's like
Yeah.
They're older than you.
You refer to them as like
All knowing.
all knowing.
Yeah, and you have
then-
expectations for them and what they should do,
Yeah. Yeah, and at one point I was thinking about like, they raised us the way they were taught or the way they know. So it's like they don't know at all. So
They don't know any better.
They're just doing their best.
they're just doing their best. And it's like, whenever I think about it, it's crazy to think that sometimes when things happen to you, you need to think back and be like, the way you react is more powerful to you, because if you act like victim of, or if you act like, oh, this happened to me because my life sucks or things like that, and you take a different approach and you start to think like, oh, this happened to me because it was meant to happen, and now what am I gonna do about it? You take like a different approach, and then you start to see things
Totally
different.
And that's one thing this is so powerful, because I was told once, and I never forgot that the first heartbreak you have in your life is when you realize that your parents are human beings too. That they're not all-knowing or superheroes, and they are in their capacity, but that you're like, oh my God, like, they're human. Oh my God, wait, they make mistakes. Like,
they don't know it all.
Like, they don't know it all. And then, like, they're trying to tell me how to live my life. Like, what the hell is that about? But then that's when you're like, okay, you're human too. And I remember this when my parents were getting divorced, where I was able to take a step back, as difficult as it was for us as a family. And people can be mean sometimes. And people would come up to my brother and I and be like, how do you feel? Your parents just got divorced. Just trying to get a reaction or something. And I just always remember telling people like, well, they're happy now. They're happier now. I mean, my family, we always grew up, everyone was great, but seeing them apart, I loved it. I saw different sides of my mom and different sides of my dad. And then I was like, okay, it sucks at one point that we can't just be all together, all happy, but I'm just happy that you are good and you're good too. And that's when and people were calling my parents like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with her? How does she know this at this age? I totally like blinked out that my parents got divorced. It was one of the things that I numbed. I just don't remember. Now I'm like, okay, I was 13. Like, I'm able to piece it. Okay, like, okay, this happened. Not that it was so but it's still a trauma in your life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, but they're all we're happy now. Like literally my mom and my dad are best friends. My mom is here. She's staying at my dad's apartment. We're making breakfast for each other. Like it's chill. They talk to each other more like now I feel like than they did before.
Okay.
So it's all like
It's just all around a healthier environment.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
overall
I've
healthier.
accepted that and they did too. And it was hard, of course. I'm not saying that it's not always like happy-go-lucky every day, rainbow, sunshine. I wish, but it's not like that. So it's able to understand. And one thing that she touches up in the book that you were just saying was that it's all about outlook. So if you're like, oh my God, everybody's always out to get me. Everyone's always so negative. Oh my God, they're always saying mean things about me. Well, yeah, they're going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
You are continuing that cycle in your brain.
Yes.
But if you take
and
a
you're
step
telling
back
your brain to notice that.
all the time.
Notice the negativity.
That's another thing of
Notice the negativity
exactly.
in everyone.
And that comes
Notice
back to
the-
consciousness. You're conscious. It's like if I say a new word right now, and people always make fun. Like I always say that if I say a new word, you're gonna everywhere you go, you're gonna hear that new word that you just learned. Or if you're thinking about a red Jeep, oh my God, I'm gonna leave here today. I know it's gonna happen. It's like 6 red Jeeps, but it's because you're conscious. They were always there.
Yeah.
So it could be a positive consciousness, and there can also be that negative being conscious too. And so then she says in the book to always think like, I'm always learning. Everybody around me is always teaching me something. And for me, that was the biggest thing I needed to learn and shift in mindset. It's not, and that works for me because I'm like, okay, I can't stand you right now, but you just taught me a very powerful lesson.
That is so powerful. And for me, it has helped me grow a lot in life is realizing that if you don't take people's action personally and you instead see them as a teacher, that changes everything.
Yeah. And if they like, I know we're talking a lot about intention, but it always comes back to an intention. If this person came and said something to you and their intention was negative, okay, cool. Now we know where we stand with one another and that's fine. But it will come back to you. I'm a big believer, energetic stuff, like it will come back. What you give is what you get. And so, okay, you wanted to be mean and you said that to me. And no one can understand this about me, but sometimes I'm like, I'm just sending them love and light. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sending them fucking love and light. I don't know if I can curse here, but I'm like, that's what you need, you know? I'm not going to feel bad about, like, I don't feel bad for you. It's true. Like, I'm sending you.
I can totally see you doing that.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sending you love and light.
You deserve some love and light, okay?
Because think about it, like, this came up the other day and someone was like, what do you get out of feeling bad for someone? What you're sending them like pity, like you feel bad for them. That's already such a low vibration you're sending.
Yes.
Don't feel bad for them. You can feel like, oh my God, my heart hurts for you. I'm compassionate towards you. I'm empathetic. I'm sending you a lot of compassion, but send them love. Yeah.
And one thing that has helped me so much is that when I started to, because when I was younger, I would take everything so personal. Everything, like it's whatever they say. Even it could be like a nice-ish compliment. I would take it so personal. It's like, what do you really mean? And now what has helped me so much is not taking anything personal.
It's hard, but it's true.
It's so hard, but it's like, literally, it could be at work, it could be a random person, it could be my friend, it could be anyone. When they say something, I don't take it personally because you let go on so much weight of like their words. It's like, okay, I can take it. I acknowledge whatever they're saying, but it's like, I don't try to find like
that's very
5
powerful.
meanings behind their words.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so freeing in a way. Like
it's liberating.
It's liberating.
I'm still gauging that. Like, I feel like I'm really happy that you shared that too, because I think also in different points in our lives, like depending on what we're dealing with specifically, the way you react to people will feel different. It's like if someone says your insecurity out loud and you're like, oh my God. I feel like if someone were to tell something I'm insecure about out loud and it has happened, I feel vulnerable and naked. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? Like, no. I'm like, you see it too? Like, so then it's like, okay, what are you going to do with that? But so I used to take every little thing personally, and it was draining.
It's so draining.
But it was because of that point in my life, I was so unhappy with myself, and I was deeply insecure of my appearance and how I looked. And so any little thing, it's like a blowfish, you know, like you touch a blowfish. Is it a blowfish
like
or
a pop,
fish?
like
A
pufferfish?
I don't know.
One of them. You touch it and they blow up.
Yeah.
So I was like that. And I wouldn't I would lash out more on my family members. That was a way of,
Yeah.
because I would get aggressive, and I don't think I seem like an aggressive person right off the bat.
No.
Not at all.
But
Not
I
at
used
all.
to get like rage, because they're just, and when you're, it's like when you're already annoyed,
Yeah.
and then like your coffee slips over, and you're like, you
Yeah.
freak out, like
Yeah.
that one
Yeah,
little thing that
totally.
just set it all off.
Mhm.
So then when we're like that, when we're younger especially, and you're trying to figure out who you are, when you're a teenager, and then there's like so much pressure, or feels like it's the end of the world for everything.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
like, no, it's not. Like,
Yeah. It's
keep-
okay.
It's all good. Like,
Yeah.
and I wish we could like go back to those years and just hug ourselves, because we're just so mean to ourselves
You know,
too.
you can.
Yeah.
You can go back and
Yeah,
hug
I
yourself.
believe that.
I've done that. Hugged my past self.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mentally in my mind. Like, just tell yourself it's okay.
And you
It's
send,
never too late.
you're right. And that's just such a good reminder, because I just tell myself, like, even with my growth in my body and my space with my weight, it's been very difficult sometimes to be like, what do I look like right now? Because
Mm.
when you're losing weight, I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with this, but like, or when your body's changing, or let's say transforming into something different than it was before,
Mhm.
it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes. Not that I enjoy looking at myself in the mirror, but like understanding what you're looking at, because you're used to seeing things in a certain way, or there's shift happening. And when there's shift, you can get lost in all of it.
Mm.
And it was very difficult for me, because I'm like, oh my God, when I was my heaviest, when I was 265 pounds, I'm not afraid of saying that number anymore, because that was a part of my journey.
Mhm.
I was like, I got myself to that point, and I used to be so mean to myself. Like, it's your fault, guilting myself. Like, you did this. Like, you
The
should.
self-talk. It's
So
like,
I used to
wow,
be
yeah.
me and like shred myself to pieces. And
Mm.
so then I look back now, and it's still something that I'm forgiving myself a lot for doing that, because when I started at the Biohack, I was introduced again through weight loss and things with my family, and they did a scan on me, which is a heavy metal and mineral scan. And that told us a whole story. It tells you a whole story of what's living behind the scenes. And
Right.
my aunt was like, girl, you could have been eating lettuce all day long. You could have been you would have never lost weight. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, look, like, your metabolism is not functioning. That's why. And I'm like, you mean it's not my fault? She's like, why would you ever think it was your fault? I'm like, because you're raised to think like it's all about working out and not eating.
Right.
Like, that's that toxic mentality. And so
Mhm.
when I found out about, like, when I was looking at my scans and all the blood work and everything that was coming through, and analyzing it through a holistic and functional standpoint, they're like, you need to forgive yourself, because this is not your fault. The reality that you're living in right now, okay, you play in it some part for sure, because it's you're living it, but it's not all that all the time. There's other things that are happening that you might not be conscious of, that are causing you to be the way that you are. Still to this day, it's been 3 years since I had that scan. And I'm like, wow, okay, like, I've come a long way. You know, there's no magic pill. Like, you are the magic pill. And that's something, like, to this day I tell everybody, because that statement changed my life. And I was told, like, you know, I got on different peptides. Are you guys familiar with peptides? So peptides are signal molecules in our bodies. They're short chain amino acids. And what they do is that they send different signals for your body to function. So I'm sure you guys know what Ozempic is.
Yes.
So I was on Ozempic.
Okay.
Ozempic is just like the brand name, but what's in the Ozempic needle or syringe is something called semaglutide, which is a synthetic peptide. And that peptide just sends a signal to your brain that you're not hungry. And it slows your digestion down. And when you are getting on a peptide like that, and right now there's a lot of stigma or articles or stories about it, because it's being used or maybe abused in a way that it shouldn't be.
Right.
But when I first got introduced to it, it was through the biohacking world.
Right.
And they're like, look, Rania, like, if you don't change your lifestyle and you're starting to take this injection, which will make you lose weight, because I was pre-diabetic at the time, and that's a main reason why people would use it.
Right.
Because
Right.
when you are pre-diabetic, or you have PCOS, for example, so polycystic ovary syndrome, you have insulin resistance, which makes it increasingly difficult to lose weight, or for other things to happen in your life. And so they're like, it's gonna be like trying to start a car with 4 flat tires. Yeah, you're not going anywhere, girl. And I was like, okay, so this is where I need to do the back end work. I'm going to be taking this injection, and I trust and believe, but what am I going to do about it? Am I going to sit on my couch and eat chips?
No.
No. So I transformed my whole life. Literally, I changed my toothpaste. I changed my water filter.
I
Oh my God, my family
feel like
was
so much of a health journey starts with changing your toothpaste.
because
I feel like for me, that's where it started.
I have to
too.
tell you, oral health. People don't realize this, but oral health is so contingent to your whole system.
Yeah.
My dentist, Dr. Maya, she's incredible. If you guys ever have a chance of hearing her speak, she's phenomenal. And she was telling me, just to go off of the mouth, that I used to have these permanent retainers behind my teeth. Like they're in nickel, they're metal. And heavy metals is a whole other story. But she was telling me, like, how attached are you to this thing behind your teeth? I've been trying to get rid of it, and no dentist I have seen.
To get rid
You
of
need to go see her. No dentist I was seeing, guys, refused to remove it out of my mouth. And they're like, why do you want to get rid of it? And I'm like, I don't know, energetically, I don't know why this is in my body. This is a foreign substance in my body. I didn't like how it felt behind my mouth. I mean, I removed my braces like, well, now, damn, I'm old, like 10 years ago or something like that. And the doctors didn't want to get it out of my mouth. So finally, I went to go see her. And I was like, I've been trying to get rid of it. She goes, let me show you something. So she pulls up this chart, which I'm going to send to you guys. It's a meridian chart, which meridians are different energetic points in your body that correlate with organs. But what she does is that each tooth in your mouth is actually connected to an organ or a system. And guess what? That part of my mouth where the retainers were, that's directly correlated to reproductive health. So she also helped me regulate my period in another way, because I was still, working with the acupuncture and working with the supplements and things to help regulate my system. And that changed my life too. And I had to, everything changed my life, but for the better. Someone was like, everything changed your life. Well, yeah, duh, that's the goal. And so she made me understand like the power of your mouth and scraping your tongue and your toothpaste. What are you putting? Things are absorbed in your mouth.
The floss that you're using.
Why would we think of that? We're just thinking, okay, I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, at night, trying to keep my oral health up. And little do you know, you're poisoning your mouth. You're poisoning your body. So I changed my toothpaste. I had high levels of fluoride in my body. I was like, okay, first thing to change, toothpaste. Second thing to change, water filters. I was living in DC. The water there probably is not the best thing for you to be drinking. Even though I had filters, they weren't as clean as I needed them to be. But that also goes back to the idea of what my body can handle is not what somebody else's body can handle. So where it might be easier for you to detox something, maybe for me, it might not be as easy to detox. So, and supplement, I mean, I changed everything. Even like the coffee I was drinking, I had to stop drinking coffee at one point because I used to call it anxiety juice, because every time I drink coffee, I'd just be off the rails, anxious, like calling my parents, are you guys okay? They're like, it's 10 in the morning, we're at work. What could be happening? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in the middle of like my school, like the quad at my school, crying, thinking my parents have something, but it's the anxiety. So I stopped drinking coffee.
And that
helped
someone
me.
that they told you, like someone told you, or did you just
Yeah,
felt that?
I was reading about caffeine and anxiety, especially like being in like a psychology minor. You understand like
You start to
the
get more
pharmacology
into-
of like certain substances you're drinking or intaking will affect your mood, and anxiety was directly correlated with caffeine or one of the articles I read. So I stopped, and then my aunts were like, you've never heard of a bulletproof coffee? And I was like, what? But we put butter in our coffee, and they had introduced me to Dave Asprey, who's like he calls himself the father of biohacking. I don't know how that sounds here, but anyways, he created that. He made that word what it is and the concept what it is today. And he introduced bulletproof coffees to, it's already something that existed. Like monks would drink coffee with butter already, but
what does the butter change? Like,
so what it does is that, so it's starting with a clean coffee. So making sure the coffee is tested for mold, heavy metals, and that it's carefully crafted, not crafted, craft coffee, but like
Fair trade?
what?
Fair trade?
Yeah, so like like just making sure you're having a clean coffee, starting with that, and then adding a grass-fed butter or fat. And then also adding MCT oil, which is another type of fat. So what it does,
balances out your...
So your brain is made up of 60% fat. People don't know that. So whenever I see people going, I'm not eating fats, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't like to talk about diet at all, but that's one thing. It's like, you need fats to function and clean fats as well. So what the bulletproof coffee does is that it's giving your cells and your brain the energy it needs to function while still being in a fasted state. So I love it. I'm drinking it right now. And I always post it on my blog on Instagram. Like, this is my concoction I'm making, because people think it's absolutely crazy to be mixing butter in your coffee. But it's something that I love. It keeps my fast going longer. I feel the difference in my brain. And for the lifestyle that I lead, it works. So they introduced me to that, and they're like, maybe try this company. It's called Purity Coffee. They test for mold, they test for heavy metals, they're clean. And I swear, when I started drinking that coffee, no anxiety.
Wow.
So that might be correlation versus causation. I don't know. Meaning, like, it might just be correlated and my mindset was different. But that's something I noticed specifically drinking that. And I felt more balanced and at ease. So I still got the benefits of drinking coffee, because coffee is good for you. But also not abusing it to the point where I was going to Starbucks, getting a venti, which is like obscene amount of caffeine, at cold brew, which is like, what the hell was I thinking? It's like crack. And then like adding so much sugar. No wonder I was getting so anxious, There's just like a recipe for disaster. So just little shifts like that in my life. And I noticed like, okay, I need to take it slow. Shifting what I cook my food in. I love to use grass-fed ghee. I'm not going and using any sort of seed oils that are perpetuating more inflammation in my body and that can cause chronic illnesses in the future. Like little shifts that I've made, and it goes a long way. And being kind to myself and patient that, okay, today I want to eat Five Guys. That's okay. I'm going to eat the Five Guys with so much love. Like, I'm going to love the hell out of my burger and I'm going to be fine. Like,
that was going to be my next question, is how well do you think you're connected with your body in a way? Like, do you listen to your body a lot, or do you sometimes don't understand like the signals, or
sometimes,
how do you balance that?
I love this question because I'm human. Like, even though I do all of these things, like I still get lost sometimes. And I just tell myself, okay, like, again, what are you trying to tell me right now? Like, what's going on? And my body and I are fluent with one another. It's like if I'm speaking to you in Creole, maybe you might understand a little bit of what I'm saying, but you're going to be like, what the hell is she talking about? So I've learned to speak the language that my body's speaking, and allowing and giving it space to speak to me, which sounds a little woo-woo. It is, but it's also on a scientific standpoint. You know your body best.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming here today.
Oh my God, thank you.
We're going to wrap up the episode with three quick questions.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
First question, what's one lesson from your health journey that you would pass on to others?
One lesson that I'd pass on to others is believing and knowing that you're worth the highest good in the world. If you don't believe, or if you don't know deep down how worthy you are and how incredible you are, nothing will stick and nothing will work. You have to know that you deserve it and that you're incredible and that you're worth it, really, because that's how all the good will come to you. And in your health specifically, reminding your body and your cells, listen to every word that you say. So being mindful of that. That's one lesson that I learned that I want to pass on to anybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's a small but powerful change someone can start making today?
I'm going to go back to gratitude. Taking time in your day, whether it's the morning, throughout the day, or even at night, like I do, to just reflect, is having gratitude. Your cells need that signal and that love, and just reminding yourself that, hey, there's so much beauty of what's going on, and being grateful and having gratitude towards it. It's even if it's writing a text like, Andrea, I'm so grateful for you today, which I'm grateful for both of you. Having that in mind, or even like going on a gratitude walk. There's different ways, but just vitamin G is like the way to go.
I love it.
I love it.
I even have, I know this is supposed to be quick, but one thing I would do, a hack, if you're not someone who wants to write it down, is to have reminders on your phone. My reminders app hates to see me coming. I have like a whole thing of affirmations where literally every 3 hours, I'm reminded of 5 affirmations or just a word. So even just having it pop up on your phone, even if it's like at 7 a.m., you see, I'm grateful for my family, my dog, my house, my health. Boom. 5 things or something like that. And that just sets the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
love that tip.
I love that.
That's a pro tip.
If your past self saw you now, what would they be surprised to learn?
Oh my God, this is so powerful. Definitely how I've just become so courageous. My courage in every aspect of my life. And it's growing every day. There are some days that are harder than others, but just I think she'd be in awe of just me facing things head on and having courage and not having that fear anymore blocking me. Because fear hinders you. So she'd just be like, oh my God, finally, we're not scared. Like, let's go. Yay, victory. So that's one thing I would say.
Beautiful.
Oh, this is so cute. What the heck?
You're so cute.
No, you.
I know you are. The episode's never going to fit in here.
This is
So funny. So to end the episode, we just wanted to remind you of your intention. So you can blow out the candle and you get to keep it.
As your reminder of the intention that beautiful intention that you set for us today. And
I love that.
as a memory of
I'm putting this in my
episode.
memory box. I'm not even gonna light it up again. I'm gonna write on. I'm such a I love keeping little trinkets of memories, and this is such a powerful memory. So you guys have to sign or something. The bottom.
Yes.
That would be so cute. Okay.
Should we do a little?
Ah!
Cheers. Oh my God, this was so much fun.
We had so much fun.
I feel
Thank
like
you
we
for being
stepped
here.
out of reality.
Yes.
This was much needed, emotionally for me. Thank
Oh.
you. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in and saying all of those words and pouring yourself.
We always
in
learn
here.
so much from you.
Aw,
Yeah,
same
so
here.
much.
Same here. I love it.
See you next Wednesday.
Love you. Bye.